no secret that I think America is the greatest country in the world. I'm so proud of our country, just as I am so grateful to the men and women who fight for our freedom every single day. Whether you agree with me or not on the USA being in the top spot, most of us are on the same page when it comes to our attitudes towards our troops. An overwhelming majority, 94% of the people we surveyed last month, are proud of the men and women who serve our country. And 90% of those polled are concerned that we're not doing enough to support our veterans when they return home. The statistics surrounding the mental and physical health issues facing our veterans and the lack of attention they receive are staggering. We'd like to help change that here at Take Part Live. Today marks the beginning of a year-long campaign on Take Part Live and Pivot called Return the Service. And as much as I can talk about percentages, polls, and figures, we want to shed light on the challenges of our troops as they acclimate to civilian life, and we want to do it through stories. Starting in June, we'll be interviewing 11 veterans on or around the 11th of each month as part of our aptly named Pivot 11 series. We'll share the personal experiences of these brave and honorable veterans in a way that does their service justice. Here to talk about some of the issues facing veterans is my friend and former U.S. Marine, Jesse Canella.
Good to see you. Thanks.
How are you?
Thank you.
I'm not going to shake your hand. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks.
So Jesse's a dear old friend of mine. He served with my brother. And can you tell our audience a little bit how long you were in the military and how long you've been out?
Yeah, so, I served 4 years in the Marine Corps. I joined after 9/11. I grew up in New Jersey, and so 9/11 was super close for me. And I decided that day when I was 15 that I was going to join. So I enlisted. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I served in Iraq during the 2007 surge until 2008, and I got out there shortly thereafter, and that seemed to me to be the beginning of a whole new battle and a set of challenges that me and many other veterans face. So,
can you tell us a little bit about what it was like when you returned?
Yeah, I grew up in a great town, and I have a great family and friends, and so I was the last one to think that I was going to have a hard time, and I came home and I just kind of felt like I got dropped off at the bus stop. I didn't really know where to go and had a hard time finding a job. And I spent 2 years guarding strategic weapons. There's my handsome mug. There you go. And I couldn't even get a job doing security, even though I had a clearance in the service.
You know, when you say, Jesse, that you came home and you feel like you just got dropped off at home, what kind of programs were there for you when you got back? I'm curious about that because I actually had a friend that just got back from Afghanistan. He said he went through a little bit of a debrief when he got back, but he said he quite candidly didn't really feel prepared even after that whole set of things that he went through at Fort Hood.
Sure, for us in the Marine Corps, it's a short process. It's called TAPS, and I think it's well-intentioned, but the fact is you're still in the Marine Corps, and so that's your mindset's there. You're not really thinking about getting out, even though you are, and you get kind of blitzkrieged with all this information, but it's cookie cutter. It doesn't necessarily apply to you, and so when you come home, that's when it gets really hard.
Yeah, my fiance's brother is actually going to the Special Forces next week. So, I mean, for somebody who is going, I'm sure there's a lot of men and women across the country that are being deployed and things like that. What goes through your mind? Like, is there anything they can do to prepare, they should think about?
From a deployment perspective?
Yeah.
It is. It's hard. For me, I was active duty, so it was an environment for me that was 24/7. But it's hard leaving your family, and the best thing to do is just focus on the mission. You got to put everything else out of your mind. You got to try to have things on the home front set when you leave, so that at least you're taking that out of the picture, so that when you go to wherever it is that you go, you can really put your mind and your heart into that because the mission comes first. So.
Can I tell you some statistics about unemployment? In 2013, the unemployment rate for civilians ages 20 to 24 was 12.8%, while the rate for veterans 18 to 24 was significantly higher at 21.4%. I don't understand why veterans have such a hard time with employment when they come home, because I would think employers would want to hire people with such leadership skills that have been through such intense experiences. Why do you think there's such a hard time getting jobs?
It's a two-sided answer. So there's the one side is veterans. They get out and they don't really know how to articulate their skill sets. I mean, I got out, I was a machine gunner. You can't write a machine gun on a resume and expect to get a job that's not for machine gunners. Yeah. So it's helping veterans understand how to look at their fundamental skill sets and putting them in corporate terms or in business terms or wherever they're applying. And the other side, I spend a lot of time now working with corporate America trying to educate them and to help them tap into this kind of population. And companies need to do a better job changing their requirements and looking at things things a little differently to customize them for veterans, because it's a unique population and they have wonderful skill sets and attributes, but they've got to be looked at a little differently.
I'm just curious, do employers, say, get tax benefits or subsidies to employ veterans in entry-level jobs or training and things like that?
That's a great question, and that was the case, and unfortunately those tax credits expired at the end of last year, which is sad to see because that is a really nice thing to offer companies. There's some other benefits that companies can get. I just think it's a disconnect, and I think it's a lack of communication. I really do believe that corporate America wants to do the right thing, but there's a long way for them to go, and they really do need some expertise to help guide them to do the right thing.
So what would you tell civilians watching this right now, how they can help veterans find employment?
Sure. I would say get activated. You know, go out there. If you can mentor a veteran, that's the first thing to do. There's so many people with skill sets. We all have things that we can bring to the table, and if there's a veteran that you can help, that you can kind of guide and say, hey, these are the things I did that worked, and these are the things that I didn't, those are great things to do. I would also say folks should advocate for veteran employment. They should go out there. They should talk to companies. They should talk to the local representatives and demand that we change things.
You know, I would say, Jesse, that and guys, like right now is a pretty extraordinary moment because the eyes of the nation are focused on our veterans because of this VA scandal that's going on. And 40 people reportedly died because they didn't get the services from the VA that they were entitled to. Why does it take something like this for people to get focused on our veterans at a time like now when hundreds of thousands of people are on the wait list and backlogs for getting service from the VA?
I think the greater challenge is it's human nature, right? If it's in front of you, you see it, you understand it, it becomes important. But the bigger problem is when this fades out of the spotlight, is it still going to be important? And it should be. We've got a sacred obligation to take care of our military veterans. And so we just hope that this could be a lesson learned to really find it important in people's hearts to go out there and do the right thing so that when we come home from Afghanistan and these conflicts end, that this is still a very important issue, because at the end of the day, it is. And we need to be doing more as a country.
Can I ask you a little bit more of a personal question? So people always talk about the suicide rates of veterans coming back and how high it is. And you and Jimmy have a friend who horribly took his own life, a person I would call sort of a friend. I had met him a few times. He was a great guy. Why do you think our vet troops are coming back and feeling like America isn't here to support them and that they have no other way out?
I think if you follow the news, it's fair for us to understand why veterans may feel that way. And the suicide rate for veterans was 22 veterans a day. I mean, it's an atrocity.
Jeez.
And you know, it was one of the hardest days of my life getting that phone call. And I know for Jimmy it was too. And I just think that we need to look at things differently. You know, veterans don't fit into a cookie cutter mold, and so when we provide services to them, we need to be a little bit more creative and innovative in the things that we do, because this is a major issue, and it's getting worse. And I just hope that we can change things very quickly for the better.
And when you hear statistics like that, it's easy just to say them, but it's someone that has impacted your life, Jimmy's life, my life, and it's just a tragedy. I just want to say we have a call to action here on TakePart Live, and if you are concerned about the mental health of our veterans, you can go on to TakePart.com and make a pledge to call your senators and tell them to make this issue a priority, and I really hope everyone does.
So important.
Absolutely.
Listen, Jesse, you're fantastic as usual. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited you're here to launch Return to Service.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure,
so awesome. I want to thank Jesse Canella for coming on the show and speaking so candidly about his experience. Isn't he cute, America? If you want to get involved with our Return the Service campaign, you can check out our website.com. We've got comedian Margaret Choi joining us. But before we end our veteran segment, we want to share our poll results from yesterday. We asked you, do you personally know someone who served in Iraq or Afghanistan? And 66% of you said yes, and 34% of you said no.
Raising awareness for veterans issues is so important, so please join us in our Return the Service campaign. And subscribe to our channel, like this video right now, and click on one of these videos below for a whole lot more Take Part Live.